faithful volunteers, and she's so sweet and kind to everybody. And we are so grateful for her, and so amazed at God's work. And she will let you know what all that work entailed.
Awesome. Go Lala!
As many of you know, I go by Lala. My name is Brandy, but it's been my nickname since I was little to go by Lala in reference to La La Land. I've never actually stood up in front of a crowd and given my testimony. I've given parts of it to different friends over the years, but when Mom asked me to give my testimony, it kind of took me about 4.5 hours to sit down and try to figure out how to summarize it. So forgive me if I have to read it, but okay. So here goes. I got saved about 21 years ago. I was living in Colorado, and my mom asked me to come to Arizona to see her, and she was brand new to going to church. We didn't grow up in a church. For a while we were Mormons, but we didn't actually grow up in church. So when my spiritual eyes were open to the whole experience, it was amazing to me, and I just jumped in with both feet. But like most people that grew up with my kind of background, I had some difficulty along the way and didn't stay faithful like I should. I mean, I wish I could say for the whole 21 years I was faithful to God. I never gave up my love for God, and I never gave up praying for things, but I didn't always do the work like I should. I'm sorry. I guess if I didn't live the life I did, I wouldn't have the testimony I do. So I guess it's a different way to look at it. So when I became a baby Christian, God started healing me in a whole lot of ways. I was told for many years I would never be able to have children because of some things that happened to me. And I got pregnant with my first child. I like to say my mom got me pregnant because we sat on her bed and prayed about it. So she was kind of the vessel, and that brought me to it. So by the time my daughter was a year old, I had gone back to smoking weed and drinking, which I was great. From the moment I found out I was pregnant, I quit everything, quit drinking, quit smoking, quit cussing. I just thought it was such a miracle that I was pregnant, and I didn't want to risk it. So by the time she turned a year old, of course I went back to everything. And then in the year 2000, my brother was murdered. And I hate to say I was mad at God, but I kind of, it's one of those things that you say, it doesn't happen to our family. We were so close, and my mom had 6 kids, but she raised 26 kids. So we always said that's just not something that happens to us. I guess that's kind of when everything got really ugly for me. I started drinking really excessive and smoking. My life was really out of control. I was in and out of mental hospitals and battling suicide and depression. I couldn't hold down a job or a home. By 2004, I had 2 failed marriages and countless custody battles over my daughters. My baby was once again living with her dad, and my oldest and I, along with 2 of my brothers, decided to move to Arizona. I don't know why Arizona, but that's where we just kept going to. So we didn't know anybody out there. It was really hard. We were there maybe 3 weeks, and my brothers decided they didn't go there to struggle that hard, so they left me and my daughter there to fend for ourselves. But I mean, she's mine, so I knew it was my battle to fight anyway. So it probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but that's when I took to drug dealing, which is embarrassing for me to say now because it was a means of survival, but it wasn't the correct means of survival. 7 years into living in Phoenix, I just really started to hate who I was and what I'd become. And I'm not the kind of person that hates. I'm not a negative person. Most of you know me. I'm very positive. So I started saying when I turned 40, I wanted to be a square. And in my lifestyle, a square was a bad word. But it's kind of, I don't know, it was kind of like the deadline I set for myself. Like I just didn't want to be living that life anymore. So, again, when you're in the life of dealing drugs, you become susceptible to taking on doing drugs. And I was doing a lot of meth and ecstasy and really horrible things. My kids and I have always been really close, and they got to the point where they were so mad at me because they felt like I didn't care enough about them to take care of their mommy and to take care of myself so that I could see them grow up. But I was so lost in trying to numb myself that I didn't realize what I was doing, and I didn't realize they even knew what was going on. I mean, I really thought I was hiding it. I was really wrong. So, my youngest daughter, as I said, we battled custody, me and my ex-husband. I had got her back after not seeing her for 4 years. I suddenly got her back. But by then I was into the bad side of life, and she stuck it out with me for 3 years and just couldn't take it. So her and my oldest daughter told me they were going to see my mom for a visit, and ended up they were trying to move back to Nebraska because they couldn't handle my life. So when they left, I got very depressed. I tried to mask what I was going through. I tried to just numb it, and I got more and more into drugs. And my oldest daughter ended up coming back to Arizona, but she wasn't really having much to do with me. And I was hitting a point when I was really, really deciding I was just done. I just didn't want this anymore, but I didn't know how to, by then I didn't know how to break away. And I was living by myself, and I woke up one night to a man in my apartment. And after I was able to get him out of my house, that's when I just broke down and I said, God, if you love me, if you still want me on your side, then I need you to save me. I need you to help me because I don't know how to do it. And I mean, you know, it's when you really truly cry out from your heart that he really listens. I mean, he never doesn't listen, but he really listened. And I didn't realize how quickly he was going to fix things, and I didn't see that that's what was going on. But anyway, I was getting really, really sick. I was dealing with a lot of kidney infections and kidney stones, and I was in and out of the hospital a lot. And I remember being in a hospital bed and crying out to him. I remember being at my daughter's house and crying out to him, and I don't know why, I just kept re-asking him to save me. I knew he heard me the first time. I don't know what I expected, if I just expected an overnight miracle, but I just kept, and every time I asked him more from the heart, and I meant it more and more. I just didn't know how to break away. So I remember specifically praying, Lord, I need you to rewrite this for me because obviously I can't figure it out. So I was sitting at my daughter's house, and she had called me. She wasn't there. She called me, and she said, Mom, if I asked you to go to Florida with me, would you? I said, of course, baby. It's you and me against the world. Kid, I'll go anywhere with you. You know, it's nothing. So I didn't know that was a serious question. I thought she was just asking me to cheer me up. So she said, okay, I'm going to call you back. A few minutes later, she calls me back, and she says, we leave in 2 weeks. Wait, leave a what? So needless to say, that's how I ended up in Florida. But we got here, and I didn't know a soul here. I'd been through Florida when I was a truck driver, but never really made connections here, so I didn't know anything about Florida, didn't know anything about Tampa at all. So, sorry. My daughter and I kind of had a small falling out, which I'm sure was all part of God's plan, so that I had to solely rely on him. She ended up moving to St. Pete, and I was in Clearwater, and just had to get a ride back to Tampa because that's where the Greyhound station is. I had every intention on going back to Arizona and going right back to my life because I didn't know how to do this. I had no idea how to start over without doing it the bad way. So I came to Tampa. I was staying in a women's DV shelter, and still was very sick. I ended up in the hospital, and normally when you're in pain or when you're sick, your blood pressure raises and your heart rate raises. For whatever reason, my blood pressure and my heart rate were both, not just done. My heart rate was like 50 and my blood pressure was like 80/40 or something. It was just, I remember laying in the hospital bed and just all of a sudden felt just peace. There was no pain. I wasn't sick. It was just an amazing feeling. So I assumed it was a dream, but it was like I was in this, I hate to say a bright white room, but that's the only way I can really explain it. Everything was just bright, and there was a man in the room with me, which I couldn't see him, and I don't remember him ever speaking to me, but I knew he was there. And all I kept saying is, these aren't the shoes I want to be wearing. You can't take me yet. These aren't the shoes I want to be wearing. So right after I said that, I just remember feeling like a hard slap in my face, like literally like somebody slapped me. Well, when I came to, the nurse told me I checked out. I tried to assure her I haven't even got out of the bed, wasn't wearing anything but a hospital gown. I haven't gone anywhere, lady, I've been right here. So I didn't understand what she meant until the next day when the doctor came to see me and told me for whatever reason I died. They can't explain it because in the kind of pain that I was in and the sickness I was in, my heart rate and my blood pressure should have been elevated, but it was bottomed out. So now, after going through all of this, I've realized that was the old me dying, and the old me had to die for the new me to be able to really live. So I get out of the hospital and I go back to the shelter because I still don't know anybody here. And I had got up one morning and just felt so good. I hadn't felt that good in years. I don't remember just being happy like that in years. I physically felt really good. Emotionally, I wasn't stressed. I just felt good. And I knew it was because I was ready to find a church. So I was trying to get dressed, and I thought somebody stole my shoes. So I was very upset because somebody stole my shoes, and I didn't want to be upset. So I put on 3 pair of socks, and I started walking around, and I walked literally all over this neighborhood, and I stopped at a whole bunch of churches, and I sat on their porches, and I prayed, and I kept saying, Lord, if this is the church, then let me feel it, and I couldn't feel it. Well, I was walking, and I was lost. By the time I walked all over the place and sang to myself and picked flowers and was in Lala Land, I didn't have any idea where I was. So I happened to meet a stranger that just walked up to me, and he brought me to Amazing Love, which is when I met Jim and Barb the first time.
All right.
And I came here off and on, I suppose, for a month or so. And that's when, like Pop said, they gave me a ticket to go home. Things were just rough. I kept thinking, I know this is where you want me, God, because it feels right. But I just couldn't figure out how to get going again. I couldn't figure out, it was like I was just this blank slate. I just couldn't figure it out. So Jim and Barb bought me a ticket to my mom's. I went out there for about a month and a half, and the whole time I'm out there, all I can think about is this place and how hungry I was to be back here and the amazing services they have on Mondays. And I had gotten a call from Social Security. I had made a Social Security claim, and I got a call from them, and they said, well, we're going to give you until this date to be back in Tampa and sign your paperwork, or you're going to have to restart your claim. Well, again, I know it was God, because I got a $700 check in the mail. Even though my claim wasn't through, I got a $700 check in the mail. So I bought a bus ticket and I came back. And my little bit of money ran out. I came to Miss Barbara and Mr. Jim, and they said, well, you could sleep on the grounds for one day, but that's it. We can let you stay here one day. I've never in my life been homeless. That was so terrifying, the idea of even just sleeping outside. I mean, that was terrifying, but there was such a sense of peace here, and I never was scared. Like, I slept on the ground where we serve, and I slept good and was never scared. You know, it was just such an amazing feeling. So I knew this is where I was supposed to be. And every day, you know, coming around Miss Barbara, Mr. Jim, they would tell me just, you know, keep your head straight and stay on the right track, and everything's going to come through for you. Just keep putting it on God, keep putting it on God. Well, I kept putting it on God, and now I have a place about 7 blocks from here.
All right. Woo, Lala. All right.
And I am able to volunteer here. Every time the doors are open, I'm here. If the doors aren't open, I would be here. But every time the doors are open, I'm here. And my health is increasing amazingly. Like, I mean, even Mrs. Dell can tell you I was so sick when I got here. I was very sick. I was in and out of the hospital. I am exercising for the first time in my life. I bought an elliptical machine, and I'm exercising twice a day for the first time in my life. Yeah, and it's just, I can't tell you what an amazing feeling it is. And I was still smoking weed when I got back here, up until New Year's. And I don't know, it was like God was finally done trying to put all the pieces back together in the right way, because I just woke up one day and decided I'm done. I don't need this. I don't want this, and I don't need this. And awesome. I'm totally drug free. I have no desire to smoke. I have no desire to drink. I'm not even involved in premarital sex. I totally decided until God brings me the Christian husband that I'm supposed to be with, that's not part of what I'm doing right now. So, and all I can say is God is amazing. And thanks to Barb and Jim and their love, and God knowing that obviously they are 2 of his favorite angels. Amen. Because they were great warriors for me, and they fought so tough for me, and they never gave up on me, even though they thought I was cuckoo. They never gave up on me, and I love you, Mom and Dad.